Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Darkwood Bushcraft. We're out on our walk today and I just thought I'd do a quick review on one of the knives I've been carrying recently, which is the Columbia River Knife and Tool Homefront, which is a Canonian design. I today am in one of the worst possible environments for a folding knife. I'm on the beach. So I wanted to show you today what is special about this Canonian design. It's a approximately 4-inch folding knife, line and lock. I'll put all the specifications up of the knife itself. There's plenty of reviews and things like that about this knife in particular and all the specs on it. But what I wanted to show you in particular was its very, very special design feature. So let me show you the thing that makes this knife really, really special. As you can see, we are in a terrible environment for knives, as I said before. Sand everywhere, same as if you're in the woods, full of soil, that sort of thing, and you accidentally drop your knife. Oh dear me, I've accidentally dropped my knife. Can you imagine anything worse? You've got a knife now that is full of sand, full of grit, full of soil, whatever it's full of, and you've got to spend another 3 days out. Well, your knife is going to be grinding and horrible, and it's going to be pretty much wrecked. The bearings are going to be buggered, the whole thing is nasty. So let's show you what's special about this knife. Okay, so we filled our knife full of sand and crap. What are we going to do? Well, let me show you what's special about this knife. So I'm going to give it a quick rinse first of all in a rock pool, get the worst of it out. Now, this design has what they call field breakdown technology, so we can strip this in the field. So there's a lever here and there's a little wheel at the back here. So I'm going to turn this wheel away from me until I hear it click. I don't know if you pick that up on the video, but you can hear it clicking. And then move this lever across to the left. Give the knife a little knock. There we go. Take it apart. Give all the bits a bit of a rinse. Make sure I don't lose my bearing washer. And then we just pop it back together again in the reverse order of what we just did. So we slide the lever back across, bring this towards us. There you go, your knife's as good as new. Hi guys, and welcome to the second part of our video on the Columbia River Knife and Tool Homefront. So we did a quick field strip out on the beach, and I showed you briefly how that worked, but I thought I'd go through a few of the specs and show you a little bit more about the knife. So here it is, the Homefront by Columbia River Knife and Tool. This is a Canonian design. This particular version is in Oz 8 stainless steel and with aluminium 6061 aluminium aircraft grade aluminium scales. They also do a slightly cheaper version, which is about 2/3 the price of this one, which has glass reinforced nylon scales and is in 1.4116 steel, so it's not quite as good steel, and the scales aren't quite as robust, but it comes in, like I say, about 1/3 of the price of this one. So as you can see, we've got a pocket clip. It's a liner lock, so it's a very simple locking mechanism, and it's a flipper. So it's got the stud which comes through on the other side works as a little bit of a finger guard, designed to look a little bit like an old bayonet design. You might have noticed that it has a sort of World War I, World War II feel about it, and that was intentional in the design. So that's a little bit about the design. I'm going to talk to you now about the knife. The knife itself is, the blade is 3.5 inches long. It's a plain edge, brushed finish. It is 0.13 inches wide, which is just a smidge over 3 millimeters. And the overall length is 8.25 inches, which is about 210 millimeters. It weighs in at just under 5 ounces, about 136 grams. So, fairly straightforward. It's got a slight swedge along the top there, a little bit of a drop point, and a fuller along the side. All go towards giving it that kind of military styling, although not what I would call typically a tactical knife. So let's go down into the breakdown technology and show you how that works a little bit closer than we did last time. So as you can see on the back here, there's this little knurled ring, which if we turn this, make sure I get it the right way, let's turn away from me, there we go. So we turn this away from me, this unscrews the little bolt at the top there. There you go. As it starts to click, that's obviously it's come out of its thread. We then flip this little switch here, and that opens the whole knife up into its component parts. As I said in part 1, normally in here you would have a nylon washer similar to this one as your bearing. Now I managed to lose mine. I don't know where. It was during one of the takedowns that I did, probably on the beach somewhere. Somehow that popped out and I lost it. So that is something to bear in mind. I've replaced it with a little bronze washer that does the job nicely, but it does mean that there's an extra component I have to keep my eyes on when I'm taking it apart. As you can see, the design's fairly straightforward. The actual locking mechanism itself is all kept internally within the scale, and the liner lock is just screwed with a couple of T6 bolts to this one here. The thumb screw at the back is again quite straightforward. So the thing itself breaks down very easily, so you can clean it, which is its biggest feature. It wasn't a feature I really thought I ever needed in a knife until I had it, and it is really, really useful. Just that ability to just abuse your knife without any concern about keeping it out of the mud and everything else. I mean, it does breed a little bit of bad practice, to be fair, but I did buy this knife as a beater, so the whole point of this knife really was so that I could use and abuse it. So I had a knife that I could use with absolute abandon without having to worry at all about maintenance or anything like that. So that's the plus points. The Oz 8 stainless steel is very easy to keep sharp in the field. Like I say, I've already done a video on how to sharpen it with what is available to you, and I really have beaten on this knife. I've battened with it, which I'm sure is going to make some people's toes curl. Again, I've done a video previously on how to batten safely with a folding knife. It is very easy to do without damaging your knife, so I was never in any concern that I was going to break this. However, push comes to shove with something like this, you could actually just take the blade out, put a bit of paracord around the end just as something to hold it with, and you can just use the blade to batten with without any concerns about breaking your hinge or anything like that, because the hinge has been disassembled. So that's some of the pluses of the knife. It's a pretty robust piece of kit. Let's pop it back together. So to reassemble it, you pop, basically do the opposite of what you did to take it apart. You pop the knife in the closed position into the handle. Normally you wouldn't have to put this little washer on because it would come with it. You pop the top on there, make sure that this pin is pushed all the way through, and then you should, now this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, there we go, you should be able to just pop that across, and then if you redo up this back knurled knot here, there you go, the knife is all assembled again. Great. Now, like I said, I have beaten and abused on this knife, and at no point has it ever created any lateral play. Now, you can loosen and tighten it with this nut here, which is a T8, which will make it slightly harder or easier to get in and out of from the closed position. However, if you have it too loose, you will get lateral blade play in it, which isn't ideal. So you do have to keep it reasonably tight. The only downside I would say with this knife is there is a little bit of longitudinal blade play. Now you might be able to hear this. I don't know if you can see that or hear that. It's very minuscule, but what it does mean is the liner lock isn't making a perfect, you can just see that moving there, isn't making a perfect alignment with the blade itself. So there is a tiny bit of lateral play. It's not enough that I would worry about the safety of the lock particularly, but when you're doing carving or anything like that with the knife, it does tend to get a little bit irritating after a while. Just that little click every single time you push down with the knife, you just get that little bit of movement with the blade, which is not ideal in a blade. And again, easily remedied in the manufacturing. It's not something that's happened during my abuse of the knife. It's been there since day one, and there hasn't been anything I've been able to do about it. So that is the real downside to this knife. It doesn't hold an edge for an amazing amount of time, but then it's Oz 8, that's what you'd expect, but it is easy to sharpen and easy to keep sharp in the field. On the whole, I've thoroughly enjoyed using it. It's been a good solid knife that I trust not to fail on me, that is very easy to maintain obviously, which is the whole point, and on the whole has performed very well as a general user and abuser. So as far as kind of EDCs go, it's a really good choice. The only other downside I would say is it's slightly expensive for what it is. I think this one retails at around the £130–140 mark, which for something of that price with something as straightforward as an Oz 8 blade, I would expect fit and finish to be absolutely perfect. I wouldn't be expecting to lose my washers, and I wouldn't be expecting any of that lateral blade play. So that's slightly disappointing at the price point. However, I don't regret buying this knife. It's had a lot of use. It will get a lot more use, I'm sure. It's not my favourite, but it is certainly up there in the order of very functional knives that I have. So there you have it. The CRKT Homefront design by Canonian. Happy trails, guys.